All right, we're 10 o'clock and we will start now. Okay. Hi, everyone. I see some of the attendees on Zoom. I can't see those on Facebook and YouTube, but welcome. And I see some familiar names. Trixie, hi Trixie. We just met yesterday. Good to see you here today. My good friend Larry Ong is also here. Hi, Larry. Rachel, hi Rachel. And a few other names there. All right, so welcome everyone. A very good morning to the Tuesday Talk Live by Place Borneo, and we're on our 35th edition. Wow, 35 times we've done this. And this year, starting the year, we're gonna do the New Year's resolution. As usual, every year people will start with some goal setting, and that's what we're gonna talk about today. Whether it's really a good thing, or is it necessary, or is it just an overrated kind of thing for you to post on your Facebook and then show to people you got this New Year's resolution without meaning anything, right? So today we're going to talk about that. And we're live on Facebook and YouTube. So welcome to you guys checking in on there. Thank you for joining us anyway. Our partner TV Sarawak is still with us. Thank you to TV Sarawak for partnering with us and continuing this year. And we're also live on TV Sarawak Facebook itself. My name is Mona Abdul Manap. I'll be the host today, and I'll be introducing the speakers that we're going to be chatting with today in a short while. I'm right now in Kota Kinabalu in the Hilton Hotel, actually, and it's a great weather here, and I can't wait to be out there after this. But in the meantime, yes, I'm checking in from Sabah. So as usual, the housekeeping notes, if you have any questions, you can type them on the Q&A option if you're on Zoom. If you're on Facebook or YouTube, just type them on the chat box and we'll be able to pick it up from there. All right, so New Year's resolution or goal setting. Is it really necessary? Some people do it diligently every year, and they even post it on Facebook or on Twitter or whatever, Instagram, and they may achieve some or all of their resolutions. Some don't even set any resolution or goals. They just do without, and they just go with the flow, they say, right? And some do it every few months or every few years, like one of our speakers, and maybe she'll share with us a bit later on that. So whatever it is you do, it will suit your current mental health situation or condition that you're in. So whatever fits you, that's the best for you, then that's okay. But what we're also going to chat today is how goal setting or having a resolution could in fact improve your mental health condition by breaking things down into manageable bites, so then you can actually see a clearer picture of your direction, or even where in life are you currently. And that in itself could be a good grounding factor for some. For me, when I could see a bigger picture of my life or where I'm heading, it helps me a lot. So it gives me a bit of confidence in taking the next step tomorrow. Okay, so I'm gonna introduce the speakers, and then as usual, if you still have questions, you're just gonna pop them in, and along the way, I'm gonna pick them up. Now, first off, we've got that Dr. Haji Ismail bin Drahman. He is currently the president of the Mental Health Association Sarawak, a retired psychiatrist, or specifically psychogeriatrician, and currently working contractual with the Health Department of Sarawak. And he has served as a psychiatrist at several government hospitals around Malaysia, including Sarawak General Hospital and Hospital Sentosa Kuching. And now he has decided to return to his passion in giving geriatric consultancy, as well as serve in the association, the Mental Health Association. Welcome to the show, Dr. Ismail. And
Thank you.
Yeah, and we've got next we've got Gia G, founder of the Inner Lynk. So that's her own practice that she set up in Kuala Lumpur, right, Gia? And Gia is a highly trained and professionally licensed mental health therapist, trained to treat a variety of mental health conditions such as depression, bipolar disorder, anxiety, schizophrenia, and also issues like body image problems or eating disorders if you have them, relationship issues, we all got them, childhood trauma, stress or anger management. If any of you guys got some anger management, you know who to look for. Welcome to the show, Gia. And
thank you so much, Mona.
Yeah, hi. And the next one, we've got Emma Zainal-Abiddin. She is a freelance digital marketeer Emma has worked with Starbucks for over 10 years and has a wealth of experience in customer service. And this is what makes her more outspoken and a more diplomatic person when she deals with people, because of, dealing with a lot of customers at Starbucks as well. And I can vouch for that because she's great, talking to people. Currently, she is passionate in advocating for mental health, specifically for autism spectrum disorder. And we're going to listen to her talk about that, her own personal experience with that. So thanks for joining us, Emma. And also, one of the reasons why we have Emma is to have someone who is sort of not a doctor, not a therapist, someone normal like me and you. And so she can share with us her take on mental health and goal setting in general. All right. So as usual, we're going to start with a few minutes of the speakers introducing themselves or their background, and then we're going to jump into the discussion. So I'm going to start with Dr. Ismail. Go ahead, Doctor. You're still muted, Doc.
Okay.
Okay.
Now I can hear.
Yes.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very good morning to all the panelists. Thank you, Mona, for your kind introduction. As what you said just now, I think I am already retired and now doing a lot of my practice as well as still serving Ministry of Health. And as for the introduction, I think all of us should have goal and resolutions, and that is a quite common kind of things that we do every year. Not everybody do that, but to a certain extent, I think resolution is one of the things that we should do and to guide our life. To have better kind of even physical as well as mental health, I think we need to have some guide in our life. So I think this is the things that what we need to do, especially at a time when we're seeing a lot of challenges in our life and with some direction in our life. Otherwise, we are not able to focus and plan what is ahead. And this one area is that if we have no guide in our life, then probably we might face it with a lot of challenges. Not really a problem, but some people may just take for granted, or I can still live without any goal or any resolutions in life. I can just do from day to day. Well, to a certain extent, some people may be able to do that, but the majority might require some specific kind of realistic goal in our life. We are not talking something that is very big, but it is something that it is small, but at least it guides us to go somewhere. So at least when we wake up in the morning and we know what we're going to do. So I think this is part and parcels of taking care of mental health. Yeah.
All right, thank you, Doctor. And we'll talk about that, managing changes, I guess, in the situation right now. We've got a lot of changes happening, and I think that's one of the major reasons why we should have some small goals in life. Right, next one, I'd like to invite Gia. Gia, go ahead.
Hi there. Thank you so much, Mona. Thank you for having me this morning. So I think you've already introduced me beautifully this morning. So I'm just going to give you a short introduction of myself. So my name is Gia G. I am from Kuching, and I run my own private practice here in KL, situated at Publica Mall, Selaris Tamas, and it's called the Inner Lynk Psychological and Wellness Center. So on top of that, I actually work very closely with the LGBTQI+ community here in Malaysia, where I offer counseling services on issues such as coming out, gender dysphoria, relationship, gender identity, sexual orientation, and sexual education. So this morning, I will be sharing my thought process on goal setting with you. So is it necessary to have New Year's resolution? It is not, but goals are important. So I'm looking forward to talk to you about that. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Gia. Yeah, I think we've got quite a bit of things that you could share on your side based on our chat yesterday. All right, Emma, go ahead.
My check, all good?
All good, yep.
All right, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Thank you, Mona, and all panelists today, and also Placebo on your team. My name is Emma, and I'm a digital marketeer, and I'm a weekend siren as well. You basically explained everything about me just now, Mona, and but to top that, I'll be sharing about mental health benefits through autistic lens as I advocate for my autistic sister. Thank you very much.
Oh, okay. That was short and sweet. Yep.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. So we're just gonna jump right into the discussion. And again, to the audience, if you have any questions, just type them in, and along the way, we're gonna pick them up. We might not address them immediately, but we'll pick them up as we go along. Now, I'd like to start with Dr. Ismail. How in general is goal setting or New Year's resolution good for one's mental health? Is it even necessary for you to have like goals in life? And some people do that yearly, and they call it New Year's resolution. I guess that's a different way of goal setting. But how does that impact your mental health?
Well, when we are talking about mental health, what we need to understand is the spectrum of what is mental all about. And a lot of people get confused when we talk about mental. Sometimes people go to the extreme when they talk about mental. You are having mental illness, so it is not. It is like similar to physical health. When we're talking about physical health, it doesn't mean that we have heart disease or respiratory problem or whatever conditions that we have. So I think in our society, there are a lot of people still think that way. When you talk about mental, the issue, they go to the extreme, where that person is not well enough mentally. So I think if we look into the spectrum of this mental, there is from a a good mental health, to the kind of problem or to the illness itself. So here we focus mainly on the well mental health. So we have to take care after our mental health, or otherwise we might fall into these problems or issues or illness in even to that extent. So I think by right, all of us should have some goal in life. Maybe people say is resolutions. Sounds that resolution is very big words, sometimes people don't really bother about it. What is that resolution? Every year I have to say it, but I never do it. In fact, in other words, we can say it is our goal in our life. So if we have a direction in our life, I think it might help us a lot, especially in terms of counter the effect of what are the things that may cause stress to us from the environment or from people around us or from whatever, even internally from inside us itself. Because we cannot avoid certain kind of things that can happen to us, because we cannot predict what is going to happen to us tomorrow. So people who always think about what is going to happen to us tomorrow, we tend to get worried. If you live in the past, you tend to get more complaint, keep on complaining. I can't do this, I can't do that, So there are a lot of negative things inside our mind. So what we do is just live today and face it, and we can plan ahead what we want. A goal is something that is a plan for us. So once we have planned, then we can work towards it. So if we face the challenges, then we have to reset it. So that's why whatever resolutions that we put forward early part of the year, always review the progress and try to reset if it is going out the track. So this is the kind of thing that we need to do. So in order to face or overcome mental health issue, I think we need to do that because once we are off the track, then we know where we are going. But sometimes people don't realize that. Sometimes they go out of track and they lost the way, and even they don't know where to come back, how to come back. That is the time when they are facing a lot of issues in life, because these are the things that we have to realize that in our life. It helps our mental health status very much if we understand what is going on with ourselves, especially the way we are thinking, how our thinking influences our feeling, and the feeling itself will be translated into our behavior. So only behavior people can see, but nobody know our thinking, our thoughts. But our emotions, sometimes people can mask it. Internally they feel very sad, but the facial expression might show some smiling face or something like that. But that is very contrasting, like it become a crisis to the person. So when it become a crisis, sometimes we cannot hide it anymore because it will be translated in our behavior. So I think it is important to have this goal in life. Yeah.
And I think interestingly, when you mentioned about going off track, so and then coming back to what you coming back on track. But if you didn't know where your track was in the first place because you didn't have any goals, any plans, so where are you going to come back to? So that's why we need some sort of a plan. But again, I think why people find it daunting is maybe because they feel, okay, if resolution, I cannot change, I must follow. I want to achieve this, I need to achieve it. But like you said, it's an ongoing process. You need to review. So it doesn't mean that you fix it like that, you must achieve it like that. You can always change it. So I think, I kind of agree. It has to be an ongoing process. You can add on, you can take out some of your goals. Thank you, Doc. Gia, you mentioned that, goals are, New Year's resolution is not really necessary and you yourself do it differently. Share with us your thoughts on this.
Yeah, okay. Yes, as I mentioned earlier on, it is not necessary to have a New Year's resolution because it's almost like a restart button. It's almost like you have a remote control in your hand, right? And it's almost like you turn it off, you switch it off, you turn it off. Every year we do the same thing. Every year we feel like, okay, by the end of 31st of December, we'll be sending texts to our friends and our family. Hey, the things that I'm appreciative of, the things that I'm sorry for. Every year we do that. So do we need to do that every year? Do we need to apologize for the things that we do every year? And instead of like apologizing here and now, you make a mistake, you hurt their feelings, you want to apologize now. You don't wait until the end of the year. And then when the new year begins, as if like everybody just forget what happened last year. Right? Did we just like the whole point is almost like it sounds like we don't hold grudges anymore, right? Like we don't hold it. Like, right, that happened last year, that bygones be bygones. We don't carry it forward to this year. And if you see that when we talk about year, right, there's like 365 days and there's like 24 hours in a day, there are 60 minutes, and it's all about time. And it's almost like these are the things I ask myself, to be honest. I ask myself, like, Gia, what are you rushing for? Like, really, what are you rushing for? So goals are important, just like what Dr. Ismail was saying earlier on. It's just like a direction. It's a pathways. It helps us to know where we are going, what we want to do, strategize our plans, where we want to go. And with that, we are able to meet the things that we want to achieve in life. So I myself, I actually use basic needs to help me with my goal setting. And I usually would set goals that I can achieve in 3 years and 5 years. Because there is no way at this point in time, let's say, for example, if I go into social media and I see my friend bought a house, and I'm not at the place where I can buy a house, and I want to set that, okay, I must get a house by the end of this year. That is not possible, right? Because obviously, yes, maybe it is like you have to ikat perut lah. You have to like really just eat within your means. And what are you doing that for? Are we doing that so that we can pause it by the end of the year and show it to the world that we get a house? Or are we doing that for us? A house is a place where you come home to, where you feel safe and secure, where you feel like I earned this. I want to go home and I want to sleep in my bed. So yeah. So when we say goals, we want to see it as a direction. When we say New Year's goals, it's not actually necessary for us to do that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah, I like that. Like we seem to, like for the Malays, only Hari Raya you minta ampun lah. So to the point that some people, when they make mistakes, it's okay. I will minta maaf on Hari Raya. Like kind of like that once a year kind of thing. So you're right. It should be happening as and when you make mistakes. So you need to forgive people as and when it happens, right? Not wait for year end and for New Year's resolution and stuff. Interesting. Emma, tell us a bit more about your sister and how you find, all this goal setting in your experience with her.
All right, thank you. All right, a little bit background about my sister. She is 32 years old and she is autistic adult in the spectrum. And late last year, she had a mental depression. It took me a while to notice it, and especially because mental health challenges or difficulties exhibit differently in autism adults, especially in women. And to top that, women are mostly underdiagnosed worldwide or even in Malaysia. So becoming one of the close family member, right, to her sister, I wasn't really aware of the mental health difficulties that she faces. Most of the time, back in the days when I was not aware and accepting, I always dismissed it as autistic traits, which is a stigma that I wish to debunk this year, especially in taboo especially in Malay culture. And when I was helping her to get through the depression, I did my self-evaluation questionnaire for myself and for her, And one of the objectives or method that I use is actually SMART objective, which is specific, measurable, SMART, right? sorry about my nervous system.
It's okay.
Yeah. Anyway, having all these SMART goals or objective written down where I can see what's causing her mental depression or whether it's measurable, how do I compare it? A month ago and today, it was better. So what triggered her depression? So having that kind of goal kind of pushed me in the direction to have the same method in setting my own New Year's goal. And this year, I aim to be more specific, aim to have my goals that are measurables and accurate. So I don't set too high of a goals for myself because you should know what is your capability of, and what are your resources to achieve those goals. Just like what Gia mentioned, just because your peers are buying houses doesn't mean you have to buy houses as well. So have to know your own pace and be fine with it. And learning about my sister also made me feel like I need to be more aware of the autistic culture, which honestly had made me feel more humbling experience, put me in a very humbling experience. Yeah, thank you.
No worries. And you were talking about, she loves dancing and you wanted to find out if we could have a Zumba for autistic people. I think that's a great idea, and maybe we can launch that in Kuching.
Yes.
I think that's a great start. Yeah, we had an event called the Great Rimba Zumbathon, so I think we could do a smallish thing just for autistic people and their carers and supporters. Anyway, okay, getting back to the point, I wanted to ask Dr. Ismail, in your experience with geriatrics, maybe, like in terms of goal setting or this new year, and especially during this pandemic, how has that affected them? We think that people with a lot of experience, a lot of experience in life, a lot of things that has happened to them, they would be a bit more resilient or stronger. Is that the case? Or how do they handle all these things? As young people are always up in the air and we don't know what to do. But how about them?
It is very interesting questions that you ask. From what I can see through my personal experience in handling these geriatric populations, it sounds like theoretically they are very experienced, they are knowledgeable, they know about life because they have gone through difficulties and everything. It
Makan
sounds
garam
like when we
already.
grow old, does mean we are perfect human being. But on the other way, to tell you the truth, that is not that. What is just sounds like a dream, you know, a dream. A lot of disability that appear when we reach older is now keep on changing the age. You know, last time is 55, now 60. Now even the latest one, they said 80 is the elderly age. Just recently, the WHO had mentioned that. I'm not really sure whether we can put it in our country as 80 years old is the
Wow.
elderly. Consider as 60 is still very young. anyway, what happened is that I think the problem issue in an older group of population is that if they use their basic kind of skills, you know that you see when we grow old, it's inevitable that we cannot stop, we cannot pause because aging process is a continuous process. So it depends on how we look at it. If we have this goal setting in our life that just like say, I want to be healthy in terms of physical and as well as mental. So that two things we have to work for it. I mean, like what Gia said, I got a house. Don't aim for that, but aim for ourselves. What is going on in our lives? We take care of ourselves physically. It is automatically our mental health will be taken care. So I think our body need to move all the time. You know, the moment people retire and they stop, they say, okay, I want to stay at home, do nothing. That is worst scenario where it ruins the body. The more you don't, if you don't use your body, then it become rotten. People get more sick. What you need to do is you can retire from your job, but you don't retire from life. You know, you have to continue with life. So whatever activities that you need to do, you have to go on with life. It doesn't matter. You make sure that you need to judge yourself. What are the abilities that you have? What are the disabilities that a person have? So if you know what are the weaknesses that you have, what are the good point about yourself, at least you can judge for yourself. And you want to find a strategy how to move about. So these are the ways that we need it. Because some people look into, say, a minor kind of thing. Oh, I'm sick, so that's why I cannot do anything. You know, because it's too generalized. In fact, they can do a lot of things if they want to do it. Just a matter of sometimes they interest. Because this is with regards to mental health also. If you look at things, say for example, you are disabled, consider in terms of energy is not very good anymore. So people look at it, I am incapable now, so I can do things. I can even go out. I can drive. You see, it doesn't mean that if you can drive, you can go out. You see, in other countries, you can see even people are on motorized wheelchair, they can still go out also. But the only thing that unfortunately the infrastructure that we have here sometimes it become disabled, like everybody become disabled. So I think we have to liaise with other agencies so that it can make the environment is more friendly to elderly. So that they can help themselves as long as they can. So this is the kind of thing that it will help the mental health. If you are confident enough to go out and with all the facilities available, I mean, in terms of infrastructure, where you can go out at ease, you know, even without, even with some kind of help independently. So I think your confidence level will definitely go up, go higher, even though our energy might be less when we're older, you know. I mean, like say, for example, you have everything when you grow at the elderly age, but the energy is not there. When people are young, the energy are very good, but they don't have the means to do it. So it's just like the opposite ways. So I think when we reach the elderly or older age, I think we need to find strategy. This is the goal setting also. Need to find strategy, because if we know the direction, what we have, what are the you know, the thing that we don't have, the disability that we have, you know. So probably we can find a way out how to overcome that. This is strategy. So if we just ignore our life's goal or setting, then probably we can say, I don't know anything. I have no way out, you know. So become more disabled person. So this is the thing that we need to be clear to ourselves in order to make our confidence level better. If we are confident, then we have a better mental health.
I like that. I like when you said you can retire from your job, but don't retire from your life, which is true, because some people who retire from their job, suddenly they start to get, illnesses. They get, they start to get a lot of things start to happen to them. And this is so true, because my dad, he's retired and he's at home doing gardening, cutting the grass and stuff like that. But and the other day I brought him to the driving range. He hasn't been playing golf for 10 years. And then we played golf, been on the range for 2 days, and he's like, wow, I feel so alive. I feel so good about myself because I've worked myself. So I'm like, yes, you should be doing that, So I think, they shouldn't think of themselves as, degenerate or, with disability, but you should adapt your life to whatever difficulties that you may have. And Gia, how about you, your experience with your clients or your patients in terms of the pandemic? How has things changed for them in terms of goal setting, or how they manage all these differences that are happening to us?
Yeah, I think it's also depending on our environmental as well, right? Like here in KL, usually clients that I see, young adults or working adults. So it's always about achievements, things that they want to achieve, and it's always about speed, how fast. Because here on this side, it's always about okay, we don't have time. Wake up morning, reach jam, everything, go to the office, and it's fast paced. And by the time you reach the office, you're already tired. So what do I have to do today? So with the clients, during our session, we usually set goals. What are the things that you want to achieve during sessions, right? And when we talk about during sessions, they probably want to achieve, let's say, for example, coping strategy with emotional regulation. So they want to learn that. But during session, I mentioned to them, we've got to be flexible. So let's say throughout the entire session, and you see that we talk about so many other things, other umbrellas in your life, and you happen to see that, oh, how come we're not sticking to our goals, our initial goals during session? That's because we are being flexible. And when we are flexible, then you are able to just achieve all these tiny goals that you set during sessions. And from that flexibility, you are able to adapt to your sessions as well. Mm-hmm. So it's the same thing. It's the same thing with lives, where when you, like I said earlier on, when you see peers, they usually get very stressed out because of social media, and they see the peers getting to a place where they are already at and they're not, and that stresses them out. That makes them feel very low, very bad about themselves. And when that happens, they feel very hopeless. They feel they cannot do anything. And I always bring them back to their basic needs. And when I say basic needs, I actually use this modality called choice theory modality. And in this basic needs, there's survival, there's belonging, there's achievements, fun, and freedom at the same time. And when I ask them about survival, maybe they think about, right, I can earn this amount of money because I do have roof over my head. So I just need to put food on the table. What about sense of belonging? We talk about family, friends, romantic relationship. Maybe, I'm not here for a romantic relationship yet. I'm working on that. They don't really see that as an importance. So there's achievements, right? So the achievements become very big because that's a big gap. So when we talk about okay, so it looks like sense of belonging. What about romantic relationship? Do you want to explore that? So let's say if they can explore that side of romantic relationship and meet people and they fall in love, and what happened to the achievements? It's suddenly it's I'm not saying that suddenly it's not there, suddenly it's not a focus anymore, right? So it becomes a balance. It brings about that balance again. Like, okay, so now you have a romantic relationship, you have a very good support system, you have good family ship. So when it comes to your achievement, you know that you have all this amazing support to support you. You know that these people are healthy support system where they don't want you to compare yourself to them. They want to be proud of you at where you're at right now. So that is achievements. So when they see that, then they realize that, right, like, right, that is achievement. That is what we call this goals. That is direction. And at the same time, I think sometimes we forget how to have fun along our lives. You know, like our parents. Really grateful to all our parents in their generation. They work so hard. All they think about is just survival, right? Like, I want to make sure my kids go to the best school. I want to make sure you have clothes, good clothes on yourself. And like for us, like maybe my generation, what we think about is just that, okay, so which ID we want to take, how we want to interior our house, right? We didn't think of like what our parents has done for us, but we think about all these things maybe that is unnecessary or unhealthy for us. And with that being said, we forgot how to have fun because all we think about is just stress. We are stressed with work, we are stressed with everything. So if we just take one step at a time, we be present with our here and now, live mindfully with what we already have, and enjoy the things that we do. And I know that like our parents, right? They don't have the time to have fun. To them, it's like, I don't have time. Like I just need to make sure you get to where you need to go, right? And it's like it's now when they're in their 60s, in their 70s, now they want to have fun, now they want to enjoy. So in a way, we as kids, at this generation, we want to be grateful for that. We want to make sure that when we have fun, we remember that they didn't have that time to do that, but we have fun together as family. We have fun together as like mother and daughter or father and son. And yeah, and the freedom is to actually to have that freedom to be your authentic self, be true to yourself, be who you are as a person, what you want to be. You don't want to be comparing yourself with the people next to you, but instead you want to be lifting them up. You want to be able to like be proud of them. You know, the people that you are rubbing shoulder with every single day, we don't know everybody's story. All we know is just a person. We just know the facial expression, but we don't know them. But if we could just have that, compassion to be there for them and just to say thank you and just to say hello, I think that really would help a person to, meet their, I would say like goals instead of like New Year's resolution.
Right. Yeah, I like that. I think when we set goals, you also must be living in the now, living in the present. I think a lot of people, maybe when they set goals, they're just looking at that moment when they're going to achieve the goal without, so they don't stop to smell the roses, people say. So I think it's great to have goals and you can change it along the way, but you also need to live in the present, because this is where you enjoy, the present moment, your life itself. So I think people get carried away with their goals. They say, okay, I'm going to achieve 1 million by the age of 30, something like that. Then they forget that right now is the life that you're going to miss when you reach that 30 or that 1 million. Oh, what happened, to my past 5 years? You sort of breeze through and don't even remember anything. And expectations, I think that is like the main culprit for a lot of things, even at work, your personal life. You're just comparing things with other people and you don't become yourself. You want to become like other people, and you become a sort of a fake person, I would say. And that, I think, becomes a crisis within you because you yourself know that that's not you. You're just trying to prove to the world and to yourself maybe. Emma, you spoke about your sister and how you've helped her. But how about yourself? And you said you also had to set goals for yourself in order for you to help her. So how has that changed, first of all, during the pandemic? And how have you motivated yourself to achieve some of these goals for yourself and for your sister?
All right, thank you, Mona. For the last 2 years, because of pandemic, one thing that I realized, having no psychology background or education on that matter, one thing that I realized that before this, in my younger adults years, I had fun. I had fun for sure. I live and I had fun a lot, but I did not live mindfully. That's what I realized. So it's a bit taken me aback because I feel like, oh, I had a lot of fun. I went to concerts, I met a lot of people. I work in a place that I enjoy. However, I did not live mindfully because I feel like I need to hustle all the time. I feel like after I'm done with project A, I have to go to project B and immediately C. And I did not have the time to actually enjoy or reap whatever the benefits that I got, along the way, and actually evaluate myself, throughout this project, or what did I gain from, and other than that, because of the pandemic, so I also ask myself different questions now when I take up projects or when I in my decision making process. Before this, I think a lot of my peers, they ask questions like, how much money do you make? Like, what can you buy with this? And before this, I usually like set an expectation to myself, like, Emma, okay, end of 2022, you get PS5, based on that's like my rewards, but it's unachievable if you work in a certain or limited amount. And because of that, I know that whatever my goal that I set, I must remember and remind myself that I need to live mindfully. So having these skills, that is ongoing learning process, it's easy to say live mindfully, but you have to take a moment, and when you sip a coffee, taste the coffee mindfully. What does the coffee gives you, like, it reminds you of what? And for example lah, and it's easy to say, but I need a constant reminder. So I always write down, even my wallpaper sometimes it's motivational quotes like be mindful. Before this, my go-to phrase would be kind. And be kind is too broad, and there's so many ways to being kind. And for me, I need to know each levels of what is kindness is. Like, different people, they find kindness could be different things. And for me, what is achievable is actually be mindful. And having these skills helped me a lot in understanding my sister, because reading a lot of books about autism, right? The researchers or the psychologists, even the autistic spectrum adults as well, they constantly remind that those people that are around them should be mindful. Be mindful of what they say, your body language, your tone, especially. I could have a very authoritative tone sometimes to my sister, which is I need to unlearn and relearn. So because of pandemic has taught me a lot of these things, that these skills that I need to gain, which is, unlearning my unprocessed trauma experience, for example, unlearning my toxic behaviors, because most of my peers would say the Emma that you see now is not the same Emma that you see years ago. My family and my close friend, I think they would vouch for that. And I would like to help a lot of people to achieve this level. I'm not saying that I'm doing mentally healthy 100%, because mental state is dimensional. It's not linear. That's what I understand, right, Gia? Correct? And Dr. Ismail. Right. So that's what I need to learn, actually, knowing your own mental state. Just because you are feeling distress, for example, anxiety, like today, I do feel anxiety. Having this talk doesn't mean it's a bad or negative response. It's a prompt for me to be prepared for this talk. So it's important to know whether this anxiety or certain feeling gives you a certain kind of emotions. So just because you're feeling anxiety right now doesn't mean it's gonna end up bad. Just stay true to yourself, and remember, be mindful. Thank you.
Thanks, Emma. And I like that when you said you need to be aware of yourself, like your body language, your tone of voice, and to be mindful of how you are revealing yourself to other people without you realizing it. And you mentioned that in terms of in terms of autistic people, autistic adults, but I think this applies to everyone. you have to be mindful how you're treating other people. And I feel like I'm very observant. I guess maybe I'm just a bit too self-conscious sometimes. I'm so observant of how my body language is towards other people, and my tone of voice. I know I have a very loud voice sometimes, to the point of being sometimes a bit too rude. So I'm very conscious of that, so that people don't feel like I offended them. But I think a lot of people don't realize this, that they need to be aware of how their body language is affecting our feelings and our emotions when we're dealing with them, not just to autistic people, to other, to, I would say, like, people without any mental health issues or any spectrum. Right. Dr. Ismail, yesterday when, I think on Friday when we were talking, you mentioned about like, when we do goal setting, there are three things that, that could help, with these three things when you do goal setting, in terms of overcoming challenges, adjusting to changes in life, which is what is currently happening, and also building resilience. I think those were the three things that you mentioned. I thought that was very interesting. Could you talk a bit about that? Are you still muted, Doctor?
Okay, thank you very much for that questions. I think this is something that people need to know about it, especially when we are dealing with people around us. So first of all, we need to understand ourselves. You see, if we don't understand ourselves, then it is very difficult to understand others, because we try to mold people into our capability or our whatever strength that we have. So I think in real world, I think we cannot change people. Only we can change ourselves. So if there is anybody around us which have this handicap or disability, I think we go down to their level and to communicate with them better, then only we can really empathize the issues, the problem. Because whatever issues that come out from our people around us, we don't really understand, even though people say, oh, I understand you, I know you. But in actual fact, we don't know anything about people. I know, like people who come to see us, we see client every day. So all kind of faces that they show to us, anger, depression, all that kind of things. So, and then we try to comfort them and say, okay, I understand your feeling. In fact, you don't know anything about their feeling, but you just see what the expression is. So when you're talking, like what Emma had mentioned just now, you empathize people first. Then once you empathize, they know how you go down to their level. And once we are able to go down to the level, then only we can communicate very well. You see, we have to go back to the basic of mental health. When we say, how do you know whether our mental health is good or not? There are three things that we need to know. Do you feel comfortable about yourself or not? You see, if you feel comfortable about yourself, say for example, you might be not feeling very comfortable with the environment itself. Environment can be any structure around us, any people around us, anything that around us. So whether we are comfortable with ourselves. People who have this problem, issues of mental health, they don't like themselves. That's why they come to us also with taking a lot of poison or try to harm themselves, because they feel not happy with themselves. You see, it indicates that something is not right. So if we understand that, then it's some indicators to us. There's something, because we don't have any tools to measure whether our mental health is good or not. In terms of physical health, we can. If you want to know whether you are having diabetes or not, you just measure your blood glucose, and then you can see it's high. If it is you have high blood pressure, you just measure with the tools that you use to measure the blood pressure. You know that is high. So many other physical health can be measured, and then there are so many tools outside. But if you're angry, how to measure angry? Do you have any tools or not? Maybe Gia know. Maybe Gia have the tools to measure. Okay. So like Emma themselves, I mean, dealing with autistic people around you, you cannot be say, oh, sabar sajalah. I don't think so, because the behavior tend to change every day. Today is different, tomorrow is different behavior. So how can you tolerate this sort of thing? Only you can feel it, sense it, and then how you react on that. So you need to understand that. So once we understand that, then only you control ourselves. We cannot control, like Emma said, oh, Emma can control the sister's behavior. I don't think so. You see, whatever you do to your sister, I don't think she will change. But what will change, you have to change according to the needs of your sister. So same thing with us. You see, not that we are taking care of other people's feeling, but we need to understand ourselves. You see, so sometimes people, what they do is they buy friend. I mean, you want to be nice to people, you do all kind of things. You give present, you know, even you're angry also, sometimes you talk very nice. But I mean, this is sometimes that we need to do, thinking that, okay, if I do that, the people will like me. I don't think people will do that sort of thing, but it's just a mutual kind of things. You know, if you want to understand people, you want people to understand you, you have to be able to understand others. So it's just like vice versa. So firstly, you need to be comfortable with yourself. And the other, secondly, that you know also, you feel comfortable with people around you. You know, sometimes people say, what is this? You know, these people are trying to harm me, to do something on me, bad on me. You know, feeling of jealousy is a lot. I mean, that is human nature. When you tend to compare with others so successful around you, or how come this fellow is so successful? I can't do it. Might as well I do something. You know, that is not the way. What we need to do is we model them. You know, once we model them, then probably you can follow. We don't compare whether you are better than them or people are better than us. So then it hurt our feeling. This sort of thing just now. So once you have this sort of feeling just now, you have to review it. You know, there must be something is happening to you. And the third one is like you can face challenges. If we are talking about, you know, every day we do see things, new things coming in our life. So be mindful with things like that, so that we can act on it. I don't think people can solve the problem. We can reduce problem, yes, but solving problem, sometimes we can't do it. Sometimes we have put it aside, we live with it. If we're able to tolerate it, then probably you might taking care of our mental health. So in another way that we have to have three things. If these three things I mentioned just now is lacking, there must be something wrong. You have to review it. You know, we cannot miss either one of it. The three things must be there with us. So that is the way how we work into our goal setting in our life. Always try to look into these areas. So that we don't miss anything. So if we miss, there's something is going to happen in us because it becomes imbalance. So once in balance, you know what is happening. Our thoughts become negative. Our feeling become more problems, and then our action become like a very difficult person. So these are the kind of things. So we need, once we know that, then probably we can get up from it. Be more resilient people, more confident persons, you know, and then we can handle people around us better, because you know, understanding people is depend on how we know people, and from that, then probably we might feel very comfortable with our life. We'll be happy. There's nothing else that we want in our life. I have seen people who come to see me crying away, feeling depressed. I say, what do you want in life? I never heard people say, I want more money. They say, I want happy life. So how are you going to achieve happy life? So you have to have a path, and then you know that you want to have a happy life. What are the things that you need to do? You see, there are many ways how to do it. And then like when you want to go to a point, you know, in our life, either you walk there, or you use bicycle, or you drive a car, or many ways. So in life is the same thing. You want to achieve certain thing, that is a goal just now setting. So once we put it aside, don't make it too high. It depends. You have to look into what are the abilities that you have, and what are the means that you have. You see, so if you understand ourselves, and we try to work on it. If we are weak in certain areas, then we learn and then try to learn from others or try to model from others how others do it, and probably we can achieve something. So once we have this, and the thing that you have just now, the abilities that you have, you don't have to worry so much about it because that is your abilities. But the inabilities that you have, you need to improve on it so that you can add more in that, and then probably you might be able to achieve what is your goal. So these are the things that really protect ourselves, both physically and as well as mentally.
Mentally.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Doc. I like that instead of comparing yourself with others, you model them or model the good traits that you see in them, and see how maybe actually when you compare people with others, you're actually a bit envious of other people, and that's when you're jealous or sort of. So instead of feeling that, you should model and see how you can be like that. So that's where you set your goals and how you want to be something like that. Maybe some of the traits not exactly like the person. And you mentioned about how some people go about life thinking that a lot of people are trying to harm them. So I think this is where you are living in a hostile universe where you think that people are going to hurt you, or you are going to get hurt somehow or other. So you don't want to deal with people. So I think that's something that we need to think of, whether you are living in a hostile universe or whether you want to just be happy and sort of let go of yourself. We have a few questions actually, so I'm just going to address one here. Hi, is it normal to be feeling anxious or have anxiety attacks for not doing anything at all? So I think this is because of the pandemic. You are so used to be on the ground, getting busy, doing this and that, going about pre-COVID. But now that you're back to work, but you can't do a lot of things because of the SOPs and all that. So you have to convert all your energy in your body to be doing only paperwork or office work. So this sounds like someone who's in events like us. So we're so used to organizing events and being so active and all that. But suddenly now we don't have any events to organize, and we get anxiety attacks because we're not doing anything. Is it normal? I don't know, Gia, maybe from your experience with some of your clients, do you get this?
Thank you so much for the question, Mona. Okay, well, that's the best part, right? About being human is that we are very resilient. The last couple of years, we are hit by the pandemic. We were hit by the pandemic, and this was not in the plan at all, unless some people have the information that we don't. And everything just put on hold. Businesses stop. Our lives just turns upside down. Our goals just like what you call this, like it's just like stop, right? Things are just put on hold. But like you said, anxiety, and this is what I see a lot happening during pandemic because of like a sudden shift, a sudden situation that happened. We all become like, oh, what is happening? Everybody become very wary. Even I myself was having anxiety attack as well from time to time. Like, what's going to happen? Is the world going to end? Is this how it's going to look like? Maybe it is. And so we were at home, right? We were like really at home. We didn't even step foot outside because we really thought that maybe this is one of like the movies where we go out and then that's it, like we're done, we're doomed. But no, what happened to us is that we have researchers and scientists that help us to understand what is going on. Like, this is a pandemic, this is a virus. And then from there, we're like, okay, what are the things that we can do? So from there, we realize that, right, with all of this information, we learn how to pivot things. We learn how to, like, businesses try to adapt to the situation. So how can we move forward just because we can't go to work anymore physically? So we have to do things online. So you start seeing people purchasing Zoom because you have to do everything by Zoom or social media or whatever. Everything is like in medias. So in the end of the day, we learn, just like what Dr. Ismail was saying, we learn how to adapt, we learn how to be flexible, and then we persevere. And then we human, we are very resilient. We stand back up. Look at us now, we are in the epidemic. We are living with the virus. I'm not saying that we're not afraid of the virus anymore. We are still wary, but we know what to do now. We put on our face, we put on our mask, we have our sanitizer. So our anxiety from like very high at the peak, it became more and more like manageable because we have the piece of the information that we have. We learn how to keep ourselves in control. So whatever that is within our control, that is ready for us. Whatever that is beyond our control, we try to put that down. We try to put that to rest because it is something that we can't control. So control what you can and let go what you can't control. Yeah. So I would say that is how you actually deal with anxiety.
Yeah, I think that's the most difficult part, right? Sometimes you just want to control everything and you feel like, it's so hard when it's just beyond your control and you feel, that's when your anxiety start to attack. I get eczema when I get my anxiety attack, so my fingers will all start to act up. We have one question from Wong. I guess Emma, maybe you'll be the best person to comment on this. What's the current initiative to improve the care for adult with ASD or autism spectrum disorder? Considering that a lot of people with ASD, especially higher functioning ones, have not been picked up and have not been diagnosed earlier in life and are only present to the mental health service with either depression, anxiety, self-harm, suicide, etc. And a study, so he attached, or he or she attached a link here. A study in Sweden recently shows that potentially 1 in 5 psychiatric outpatients has previously undiagnosed ASD, 1 in 5. So how do we pick up those who fell through the cracks? And probably there are a lot amongst us who are higher functioning ASD sufferers, right? How do we improve the mental health care for people with ASD? So I'm not sure if you've come across any of these situations in your reading, maybe. Would you like to comment on that?
All right, thank you for the question. All right, the current initiative to improve the care for adult with ASD is very, 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 3 times of very limited in Malaysia. Okay, the reason why I say so, when I was doing my research and homework on my sister, it was very difficult to find resources. And the current initiative done by the Ministry of Welfare or the KKM is not updated, I would say. For example, right, mostly intervention when it comes to ASD in Malaysia is heavily focused on child intervention. So people tend to forget autistic child grows up to be autistic adults, and there are not many community-based center or rehabilitation that can help autistic adult to be autistic and how they are being accepted in the society. And on top of that, before we get into deeper in autism, right, we also need to acknowledge the person with disabilities in Malaysia in general, because autism falls under person with disabilities. And knowing that and being aware of the information and also encouraging acceptance in yourself and educating others as well would help you to, help the autistic spectrum people. Second question, or a lot of question in one question. All right, so one of the stigma that I learned, autistic people refuse to be labeled higher functioning or lower functioning. Autism is a spectrum. So you shouldn't label someone low functioning and higher functioning, because everybody, not just autistic community, right? We experience level of functioning in day to day, If you gone to work today, you feel like malas and I don't feel like working in the office today. I think I want to go and out do work outside, So we shouldn't pathologize the diagnosis. Just see it as human behaviors instead of just throwing medical terms, because it can be helpful to autistic people. So a higher functioning autistic adult may find that they are like imposter syndrome. They also suffer a lot from imposter syndrome, and a lower functioning autistic adults may feel like there are less than in their peers community, So again, back to my practice just now, be mindful, know the differences, understand that autism is not mental illness, it's a neurodevelopmental process and difference, social communication differences. And we have to be open to understanding the autistic culture first in order to help autistic people. how do we pick on those that fell through the cracks? For me, I also missed out a lot of things about my own sister, and this can happen in a lot of families, especially in Malay culture. It doesn't, I don't have the intention to stereotype, but however, that is the truth.
Mhm.
And one of it is that actually educating myself, on the spectrum and understanding her more based
Yep.
on her life experience.
Mm.
So yeah, that helps. I hope that answers Wong's question.
Okay. Yeah, I think there's a lot. There's a loaded question there. I'm just gonna get Dr. Ismail's input on this as well. And the next question is also related to that. So I'm just gonna read this out, Dr. Ismail. This is from Hazel, from Kuala Lumpur. Greetings from Kuala Lumpur. She says, first and foremost, I would like to applaud Emma for her effort to make a change and create awareness, especially in the autism spectrum. Well done. It is so common that people are being ignorant of this mental health issue or in denial at a certain point. So I think a lot of Malay families you were talking about are probably in denial or a bit embarrassed, I would say. So my grandfather used to say that a happy life is a wealthy and healthy life. Mental health Hazel says. She has a question for Dr. Ismail. What is your advice towards parents or relatives who are facing difficulties dealing with the daily activities of an autistic person? Should they change their routine, or would it be good for them to introduce something new to their autistic child or adult? Dr. Ismail.
Okay, thank you very much. It's very challenging kind of questions. Thank you, Hazel. And when we're talking about this ASD, because it is a spectrum, there are good functioning ASD, there are very severe form. So I think it depends on the spectrum itself, from a range of mild to severe. And especially in autistic, because what I have seen in our society, they tend to hide them. They tend to not to expose them. That is very unfortunate kind of things. Because ASD itself can be diagnosed as early as possible, maybe around 3 years old. In a small child, we know we tend to observe their behavior. They are asocial, and then they tend to play on their own, because they cannot relate socially. So I think the more we expose them to get these opportunities in life, especially life skill, I think the better they are. Because what we always think that, that person is not well, so you just leave it alone. If you disturb them, then they will become very, very agitated. Because autistic child, they don't like to be held. They don't like to be hugged. You hold them, they just try to fight back. Because these are the kind of things that we need to train them. The earlier that we train them, the better they are. Because once they're already older, then it's rather difficult to change their routine. The moment you change the routine, say for example, we go out in a car with these autistic children, because they used to go on the same route every day. If you send them to somewhere, to the kindergarten or to school or whatever, and the moment you say we want to avoid jam on this road, you want to go to the other, using the other, you be careful. If he is your child is sitting behind you, better be careful, or you pull your hair, while driving. So the danger is there, because they don't like change. If you keep on doing it, and then your relationship with this child will definitely be very bad, because they will try to go on their way, what they want to do. If we expose them early in life, so probably they can pick up certain things, especially the social skills. And we don't have to change them drastically. Even the routine thing that they used to do, probably we need to understand what are the things that, how do we need to, if say, for example, things like, if it is still good, is good for them, then I think we continue. If it is not good for them, it could endanger their life or their whatever safety or whatever. So we try to not to encourage that sort of behavior. And the throw tantrum is one of the issues that we want to reduce it. And how to overcome the throwing tantrum? then probably we have the way out, find out strategy. What are the things that they like to do? So probably by doing that, then probably we can bring them away from this sort of behavior. So I think there are many ways. There's no single ways how to say, oh, this is the technique, how to handle this sort of thing. It really tailored to the needs of this child just now who's having problems. So I think if we want to change advice or the parents or relatives, I think they should know, understand what is this condition all about. You know, once they know, then probably they can go down and understand what is going on with this child. Because in our society, there are still a lot of people don't really understand, especially the disorder which is related to mental health. Because what we see is behavior, and sometimes the behavior is out of the norm, a bit abnormal from others, you know. So people look different on them. So if, say, we are knowledgeable, literate on this issue, I think the empathy will be there with the public. That's why the services in our society is still lacking, because we try to push these ideas to people, because I think our society needs to come up with something. If we just like from the top asking to provide the services, but we really don't understand. What we want is to make the people who are caring after this group of people come up with something so that we can design it, and probably we will get a better kind of care. Like in certain countries, you know, like Scandinavian countries or any advanced countries, you know, they are already starting this sort of community care long time ago. And they are well aware and know what this group of people want. So that's why they can tell it with the collaboration between the family or the carers themselves, and talk, sit down and discuss what are the things that they want. Probably the people who can sponsor or probably can provide that sort of service can come together and design that proper kind of service for them. So I think this is one of the things that we need to do in Malaysia, because we always say that, oh, there's lacking. But I think the prime mover is our public, the end user. And probably they can even come up with something like saying, Emma, I've been doing it, try to promote it. You see, there are people around there just like suffering in silence, you know. They're having some family members who are having the problem, but they're shy to speak it out. You know, if more people come up with that sort of difficulty, because each individual people who suffer from this kind of disorder have different kind of presentation. So they can share together, these are the problem, and then once that they can share, it's just like a support group that they develop. And this support group will help a person, the carers especially, that most of the people, even in other form of mental illness or anything, they feel that they are the only person in the world suffer from that, you know, nobody else. So once you feel like that, definitely you feel very stressful and
very alone.
Angry. You feel very angry. I know, how come people don't help me? Is it? But you don't realize that you're a lot of people around you are having the same problem, but the only thing they don't speak it up. So I think one of the areas is try to come up with something. And if you know somebody, then form a group. And at least you can share out what are the difficulties. By talking to people, you actually ventilate whatever things that you don't bottle up issues in life. So it is as heavy as anything that you lift on your shoulder.
Okay. Thank you, Doctor. And you mentioned about how, you know, some people out there are having some mental health issues, and what you're seeing is just their behaviors because of their condition. So I guess, you know, going back to what Emma said, be kind to everyone, because you don't know what they're going through. So in anything that you do, just be kind, and, you know, just assume that they may be having a bad day, just a bad day, or they may have some mental health issues. And there's a follow-up, just a comment from Wong. As far as I'm aware, there is an autism special interest group among the psychiatrists in the NHS, and there's a group of autistic psychiatrists that are working on influencing policies and guidelines on management of ASD, and they're working on educating RC psych trainees and therefore future psychiatrists. So we need commitment from our country's mental health system to take part in bringing ASD to the surface. So I think like what Dr. Ismail say, the public is also the prime mover in this and not just the policymakers and the authorities. Yeah, so we're going quite beyond time here, but I think we've got quite good, a lot of questions. So I'm just gonna sort of wrap this up with a question. I think Gia, you wanted to handle this, and also a question from Fiona Lulu. Fiona Lulu is our English teacher in the office. Are there any practical tips to deal with self-doubt? I think self-doubt is a huge thing and everyone has that. And the question that you wanted to answer was, what are some of the avenues to seek for help? Either physically going to someone or online. So I think that's a good wrap-up question for our talk today. Gia, go ahead.
Yeah, I think I accidentally pressed on that because I wanted to like reply to them privately, but I'll take the question right anyways. Okay. I think like what Dr. Ismail was saying, like don't bottle things up. The first step is to always reach out. Even if you don't know who to reach out to, you can always talk to your peers about it. And then maybe your peers will be able to help you to do a little bit of research online and Googling, and maybe there are services out there. And to be honest, there's a lot of mental health services that we provide here at the West Malaysia, but we provide it via online as well. So reach out to your friend, tell them that, hey, I need help. Maybe you're not the right person to talk to me, but I would like to seek a professional help. So feel free to just Google it. I can assure you that there's a lot of services out there today. Yeah. And I think to answer to Fiona's question about self-doubt, I see self-doubt as like lack of confidence, or rather like, questioning yourself. So I go by this story that I myself feel like it's a very powerful story. And I would like to tell this story. So, when we were young, we learned how to ride a bicycle, right? Initially, we have the helping wheels, we call it. And when we first ride, we are so happy because guess what? We enjoy because we don't have to think about like, oh, what if, the helping wheels is going to get off one day? And you know that someday it's going to get off. And when that helping wheels is going to get off someday, that is, I would say, that will be your independence, right? So how do you know when you're actually ready and you will tell your parents and say like, okay, I don't need this helping wheels anymore. I'm ready. I'm ready to balance this because I know I can, right? So you don't know. But one day you just wake up and say like, okay, hey, can you please take off these helping wheels? So you take off these helping wheels and you think that you'll be able to balance the bicycle. Maybe you're wrong. As you cycle, you're going to fall. When you fall, you're going to scratch yourself. You're going to have bruises. You're going to cry about it. So that's life. We will cry about things. We will go through life. We will go through trial and error. We're going to go through a lot of defeat moments in our lives. But guess what? If you keep doing that, you keep practicing it, practice makes improvements. And you will get on that bike and you will be able to balance it. You will be able to actually look into yourself and ask yourself, like, where am I now with my self-doubt? Guess what? You have to keep doing it because you will get better. As human, like I said earlier on, we are very resilient. We will get back up over and over again.
Right. Everything needs practice, even your own mental health. You need to practice it. And then, I know I said that was the last question, but this question is so interesting. I think we should address it. And Dr. Ismail, maybe you can answer this in sort of like a brief, minute or so. This is a question by an anonymous person. I have an autistic nephew, and when he used to throw tantrums or fits, many of my family members would think that praying would be the solution to calm them down, when in fact, prayers don't, or not always. What actually helps them is understanding their behaviors and what caused them to behave that way in the first place. So that being said, how do we tell our parents or baby boomers here that prayers are not always the solution? So I think this is more on a medical perspective, and prayers are probably more spiritual. So I'm sure you deal with this with your patients, Dr. Ismail. So how do you tell them? Wait, you're still muted.
Okay. Well, I think we do come across this sort of thing in our society because in terms of our society, is still not to say backward, but this is our culture. we cannot deny the fact that our cultures tend to sort, or people tend to sort that sort of rituals in our life. But I think what we have seen so far, knowing about this disorder itself, like throwing tantrum, but most of the time when we are looking at events, we tend to look at the outcome. When say something is broken, say, everybody was rushing to that. Oh, how come? They don't see what is what happened before that. So we need to learn what is going on before that. I mean, in all of us, I don't think we just simply want to do things. Say, for example, to break things or to throw tantrum. It is not something, it's just like spontaneous kind of things. So it must be something, some event that trigger this sort of behavior. So I think the family need to learn that, every time incident happen, anytime that some kind of event, which is a negative event happen, so we need to look what is happening before that. So at least we know how or what solution can we take, what steps can we do, because unless we understand what triggered this sort of behavior, what triggered this event, so then we can find out the way how to come about with it. We don't say after the event, and then some people say, oh, never mind, just leave it like that. So the next time when they want to ask, because these people, they don't ask, they don't talk to you, they will throw things. Probably they wanted to have something in the beginning, but we maybe ignore them. And then when they get angry, then you can see the outcome. These are the things that most frequently seen, among our society now. Because we say antecedent. That is the most important thing for us to learn first. And once we know that, then every time things happen, then we look to it. So we ourselves who observe the incident also feel less stressful, because we understand that. Not that we ignore. Probably we change a technique how to handle this person, or probably that we need to fulfill, because especially people who are not able to communicate verbally, they can use gestures, behavior.
Yep.
So sometimes we don't understand what is that. You see, so if we are really observant in that area, so probably we might be able to understand. So this is one of the ways that to reduce our anger, to reduce our temper, to reduce our mental health issues just now. So by doing that sort of things. So I think we don't have to tell people know what is it. I mean, how to advise parents, don't do this, don't do that. No, they are better than us. So the only thing that the technique, how we need to highlight that, make them aware. So always see the antecedent. So that is my advice. Like prayer, say, for example. I mean, they say, what can prayer do? No, we cannot say that to people. It's nothing to say. We can do that. But the thing is that, you can, it's something that, like say, for example, in the modern medicine, there are complementary medicine as well now. There is what is complementary medicine? Complementary medicine is like acupuncture, massage, and all kind of the traditional kind of but they don't have bomo lah. Sorry to say that. But they have the other techniques to reduce whatever problems in the hospital setting. So that's why it is important. Spiritual is very, very important when we are handling with this mental health. Because when we define mental health also, be it physical, mental, as well as spiritual things, they have to come together, then it become a holistic kind of things. So I think that is.
Thank you, Doctor. And I like that question, because I think, like you said, it is our norm here, our culture here, that we always go back to a religion and praying. And yes, it's actually a complementary way. You don't have to say, oh, prayers that don't do anything, we need to see a psychiatrist. You could do both. It doesn't, it's okay to do both. And I always give the example of, if you have a toothache, you go to the dentist and pull out your teeth. You don't stay at home and just pray that your tooth will be okay. And then you're going to suffer and you're going to be in pain for the rest of your life by just praying that your tooth will be okay, right? So you don't do that. So it's the same with anything else. There is a medical part of it, and then there is also the spiritual part of it. All right, so I think I should wrap up now before we go on and on for the whole day talking about this. Thank you to audience who stayed with us the whole time, and thank you for all the questions. Thank you to our partner TV Sarawak for also broadcasting this on their Facebook and being a partner with us. Most of all, thank you to all the speakers for sharing with us all their knowledge and information and input that we have today. And if you have any problems that you may want to talk to them, I think the Mental Health Association Sarawak is also open for people to call in and just talk to them, right, Dr. Ismail? You can just call and talk to anyone.
We have Facebook also.
Yes, you could chat with them on Facebook as well if you don't want to talk on the phone. And you could also contact Gia, the Inner Lynk, and see if you want to talk to them. So there's these two options that you can go to. Right, so that's it to cover our session today on I think we sort of sidelined on goal setting and and talked about mental health in general, so that's also okay. Thank you for staying with us, and I'll see you on the next session. We're going to be announcing our topic soon as well, and also our speakers. Until then, thank you to Dr. Ismail, Emma, Gia for being with us, and you guys have a great day ahead. See you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Recording